Thank you, dearie. Come again.
Mrs. Cake swept 4 bits into the register as she waved at the departing back of a buttery yellow Pegasus, whose long, beautiful pink-tailed rat behind her as she trotted lightly out the door to Sugar Cube Corner. Mr. Cake tilted his head.
Honey. Wasn't the cake she just bought 7 bits?
Well, yes. But I always undercharge Fluttershy. The poor dear gets such a rough deal from a lot of the sellers in the town market. And, well, she doesn't have a job.
Mr. Cake frowned.
She doesn't?
Not that I know of.
The twins are fed, and the triple chocolate white chocolate chip, all the brownies are in the oven.
Thanks, Pinky.
Pinky, what does Fluttershy do for a living?
Fluttershy?
Pinky tilted her hat.
I guess she's care of an MLP.
Yes, but she takes care of wilted animals. That's not really a job. Does that mean she doesn't get paid to do that, right?
Huh. Now that you mention it,
She scratched her chin with a hoof.
can you give me a second?
She shot upstairs in a pink blur. "30 seconds after hearing Pinky gasp, she popped out of the register. Dura's wide and haunted.
I have no idea what Fluttershy does for a living.
Huh? Well, I guess it doesn't matter. We were just curious.
No.
Pinky clutched her head between her hooves.
You don't understand. This is a huge deal. How could I not know what one of my best friends does for money?
Her worried pacing around the baker had drawn the attention of various customers.
I work a chip or two corner of a roof and enough paid for the stuff I need. Plus I get paid for the parties I plan, even though I only charge enough to cover the party supplies. Rarity has her shops here in Ponyville and Canterlot. Plus she sells off any gems she finds that are just too valuable to use for dresses. Rainbow Dash get paid for her weather patrol duties, and now she's got a pension from the Water Bolster Reserve duty. Even though half her paycheck is gonna pay off the damage she did into the weather factory during the whole tank fiasco. Applejack has sweet apple acres. Twilight used to live off Reezer stipends from Canterlot, but now she's a princess and she doesn't have to pay her anything. And Spike's still getting an allowance from both Celeste and Twilight's parents.
After she paused, she looked up at the ceiling.
But Fluttershy, and I don't have anything, and it might knows about how she earns her bits.
She sank to her hind knees, throwing her front hooves up to the sky and flailing them around.
This is a disaster.
The cakes looked at each other.
Why don't you just ask her?
I should ask her,
The door hadn't even closed behind her when her head shot back and
take the brownies out in 18 minutes.
and then she was gone. Pinkie Pie found Fluttershy sitting in the warm sun outside her cottage, with a coffee cake and several teacups laid out on a blanket. Bunnies and chipmunks and butterflies and birds. They're all sit around her waiting as she daintily poured tea.
Fluttershy!
The birds and butterflies took off. 2 bunnies scampered into a bush. Chipmunk went up a tree. And Fluttershy squeaked in fright. She calmed down quickly when she realized who had shrieked her name.
Oh, hello, Pinky. You startled me.
That her eyebrows drew together disapprovingly.
You startled my animal friends. Sorry.
She plopped in on her rear.
I just really need to ask you something really important. Oh, goodness. All right, what is it you wanted to ask? What do you do for a living? Huh? Your job. What do you make your bits? What do you do? Because I don't know, and if I don't know, and that means no pony knows. But your friends should know something like that about you. And then if we don't know how you make money, to provide for yourself and all your furry friends. Well, that's just terrible. Oh,
Fluttershy frowned mildly. What was a more of puzzled frown than an upset frown?
so, what do you do? Oh, well,
Fluttershy brushed one hoof with the other delicately.
I actually mostly do odd jobs. Just whatever ponies need done. Oh, like what? Speaking of jobs, shouldn't you be at work? I'm pretty sure you're not on a break.
Pinky shot into the air, scrambling ineffectually with all 4 legs.
Gotta go, we'll talk about this later, bye! That was unexpected.
Angel stared at Fluttershy.
I'm not hiding anything from my friends, really. I don't want them to think I'm, you know.
an old angel face pod and pointed at the cake.
Oh, right. Sorry.
In the late afternoon, Pinky gathered her friends to talk about the situation with Fluttershy at jobs. Applejack was currently too busy with the farm work, and Rarity was in Canterlot on some kind of fashion-related business trip.
She said she does not jobs. Does that mean her jobs are so much she doesn't want to talk about them? Or does it mean she has an odd number of jobs? What does it mean, Twilight?
Twilight Sparkle rolled her eyes and marked her place in her book.
It just means she does things that ponies need done that they only need done every so often? Or things that only need to be done once? It means she doesn't have a steady job and just does whatever she needs to do to make ends meet.
She frowned.
I can't believe it never occurred to me to wonder what Fluttershy does for a living, though. It seems like every so often I'm getting a reminder of how much I still have to learn about friendship.
Rainbow Dash coughed from where she lay in a pillow across the room, reading the newest Daring Do book.
If Fluttershy wanted us to know what she does, she would tell us. It's not like it's any of our business.
Of course, it's her business. She's her friend Rainbow Dash. I know everything, and I mean everything, about all my friends all across Equestria. Or, I thought I did.
Pinky's hair and ears drooped.
And I can't believe I didn't know something as simple as this about Fluttershy.
Look, Pinky. Fluttershy is a hard pony to figure out sometimes. I've known her since Cloudsdale. And believe me, getting her to talk about anything but animals is like getting Derpy to not screw something up when she helps with the weather patrol.
She tilted her head.
You know, maybe that's why Fluttershy doesn't want any pony to know she does odd jobs. It's because Derpy's an odd jobber, and you know what her reputation around town is like.
I thought Derpy worked for the Ponyville post office.
Only part-time,
Rainbow replied with a shrug.
usually, just when they're sure to. She had been fired from just about every part-time job in town.
That's kinda sad.
And it never really seemed to bother her.
Focus, ponies! We need to focus on Fluttershy here.
Pinky, you already have your answer. She does odd jobs, that's not the most ideal way to get by. But if it works for her, then what does it matter?
Doesn't matter because I can't not know.
Pinky raised her hooves impatiently.
I'm gonna find out just what kind of a jobs Fluttershy does. Then maybe even what kind of even job she does.
Then she produced a pith helmet from nowhere and snatched up a notepad and pencil from Twilight's desk.
And my study begins now. Wish me luck.
When Pinky galloped out of the room, Rainbow raised an eyebrow.
Shouldn't you stop her?
Twilight chewed on the inside of her cheek.
You know?
She shook her head.
No. I made a fool of myself over her pinky sense. I think I'll let her make a fool of herself over this and call it even.
Rainbow's eyes narrowed.
Seriously?
Twilight smirked and went back to reading. Pinky pulled out the notepad while hiding under the bush near the Fluttershy cottage.
Pinkie Pie's Observational Journal, Day 1, Entry 1. I just witnessed the delivery of a wire cage of such Fluttershy's cottage by Applejack. She is taking it around back, in pursuit.
Stealthily, Pinky crept through the trees, disturbing numerous small rodents and birds as she followed Fluttershy and the package. Fluttershy was humming and clucking gently as she set the wire cage in a small paddock surrounded by chicken wire. Was the one part of Fluttershy's yard that was devoid of animals. Fluttershy flew back run to the side where she kept her chickens and nosed into the coop.
Here, Eliza B. Here, Raby.
Gray hens fluttered out lining up in front of her. She tilted her head.
Henrietta? I didn't call you.
And Henrietta groomed herself and clucked, holding her head up high.
Okay, you silly hen. You can come too.
She clucked and smacked her flank, and the hens followed her around back while Pinky was watching. Once the hens were inside the paddock, Fluttershy closed and locked it, then opened the cage.
Come on out, Roy. There's a good boy. Your little girlfriend are here.
Rooster strutted out of the cage, crowing and puffing himself up.
You kids have fun now. I'll be back a little later.
With that, she flew away, gathering a bag of assorted nuts on her way up into the trees. Pinkie frowned and tilted her head, scrunching her muzzle up.
Now what in the...
She trailed off as she watched the hens and the rooster for a few minutes. Her eyes grew progressively wider. And a few minutes later, she staggered through a line of bushes into a clearing on the east side of Fluttershy's property.
Fluttershy's at job number 1 uncovered. A chicken dating service. I think. Continuing observation. Pinkie Pie's observational journal, day 1, entry 2. After spending all day watching Subject Fluttershy look after her animals, I followed her to the Ponyville Retirement Village.
Pinkie Pie led Fluttershy into the community activity center of the retirement village. Soon as she entered, Fluttershy glanced nervously around, then ducked into a vacant room. All around Pinkie Pie, creaky old ponies shuffled around in carpet slippers and bathrobes and pajamas. One who looked alarmingly like her dear departed, Granny Pie snuck up behind her.
Would you care for a molasses biscuit, dearie?
Pinkie blinked at the biscuit. Was a chewed-up lump of the poor old pony's medicine.
No thanks. I'm good.
A nurse came storming through the halls, clapping her hooves together.
All right, every pony, today's show is about to start. If you would all please head for the community room. Oh, hello there. Miss Pinkie, are you here visiting some pony?
Oh? I'm just looking around. No seeing if this is a good place to bring my mom and dad when they retire.
The nurse tilted her head curiously.
Well, all right. We are about to have our silent movie matinee. You're welcome to stay and watch together.
Well,
Just then, Pinkie saw Fluttershy emerge from the room she ducked into, dressed in a tuxedo and top hat with all the accessories. Pinkie stared only for a split second. Then she remembered she was conducting secret surveillance and ducked behind the nurse.
just since you're fine, I'll stay.
Fluttershy trotted past the nurse, not noticing Pinkie Pie.
Is every pony ready?
Just about. Thank you for coming down. Our regular pianist has the pony pox.
It's no problem.
For the next hour and a half, Pinkie Pie watched from a stealthy hidden position as a crowd of old ponies watched some really old silent movies. Behind the screen, Fluttershy sat at a piano, merrily playing the music that accompanied the films and entertaining the elderly residents while the projectionist changed reels. After the last movie ended, the projectionist wheeled away his projector and the nurse brought in a gramophone.
And now, for a special treat,
She said as she placed a record on the turntable.
our special guest piano pony has a surprise for you.
Fluttershy stood and took a bow. As the music began, she did a jolly tap dance routine, to the delight of the old ponies. When she was done, she received a round of applause, for which she took a bow and gave a bright smile. She then waved goodbye and left the building. Pinkie Pie scraped her jaw off the floor.
Fluttershy's at job number 2 uncovered. A secret surprise, shill pony. Continuing observation.
Hey, you want my jello sweet cheeks?
Pinkie stared at the mangled jello cup a wrinkly, shriveled prune of a stallion was offering her. His denture were floating in it. She shuddered.
No, thanks. I'm good.
She escaped out the nearest window. Pinkie just barely noticed Fluttershy flying back to her cottage. It was already getting dark while Pinkie was already beat from all the sneaking around. And so she decided to end today's investigation.
Pinkie Pie's observational journal dated to entry 3.
Pinkie Pie watched as Fluttershy, wearing saddlebags and a hoop-woven saddle blanket, bought a ticket and boarded the train. She quickly dashed up to the counter, bought a ticket for the same train, and stealthily boarded the car behind Fluttershy's.
Subject Fluttershy boarded a morning train to Baltimore. I'm on board and following her.
When the train pulled into the station, Pinkie followed Fluttershy at a discreet distance. Fluttershy was looking left and right as she walked through the crowded city streets. As they continued walking, Pinkie couldn't help but notice that the ponies around them were wearing progressively stranger outfits. Almost seemed like the ponies here thought it was Nightmare Night. But some of the stuff they were wearing was just weird. Finally, Fluttershy walked through the doors of a large building with a sign that said, Baltimore Convention Center. Huge banners draped on the building's walls proclaimed, Nick PonyCon! Equestria's largest anime and manga convention. Pinky scratched her head. Shrugging, she followed Fluttershy through the door. Ponies in black and orange vests with big laminated name tags stopped her and directed her into a long line. She ended up waiting in line for over an hour before coming to a table where a pony demanded 50 bits for a laminated badge and a couple of pamphlets.
Wow, this investigation is really hurting my lot.
She huffed over the bits and accepted her badge and pamphlets. Shaking her head, she moved through the crowd searching for Fluttershy. She finally saw a familiar long pink tail disappear through the doorway. She took up a position nearby and waited. Several minutes later, Fluttershy came back out wearing a pleat blue skirt, a white blouse with a blue collar flap and a yellow neckerchief, and a green wool sweater. Her mane and toe were braided, and she had on huge round glasses that magnified her eyes. For some reason, she was also wearing a headband with big white cat ears on top.
What the?
Fluttershy hove expertly through the crowd, her saddlebags bouncing against her flanks. Pinky followed her, constantly bumping into costume ponies. Long last, Fluttershy went through her into a room full of tables loaded down with books, posters, records, toys, and all sorts of other things. Fluttershy talked to a pony in a black and orange vest, then was escorted to an empty table. She opened up her saddlebag and withdrew a stack of comics, a sketch pad, and drawing implements, which she laid out before her. Finally, she placed a large placard at the front of the table which said, Tari ni Nico Shao Dujin Hearts. Pinky tilted her head, pry for out.
Okay, I have no idea what's going on here.
She crept around to a place where she could observe Fluttershy without being seen, then waited. She didn't have to wait long. Ponies began trotting up to the table. Some bought the books Fluttershy had brought with her, while others seemed to be making requests. Fluttershy started drawing things for the ponies lining up at her table. The ponies seemed to be excited as they paid her. Her saddlebags were rapidly filling with bits as her pile of comics dwindled and she drew more and more sketches. After almost an hour of this, Pinky slipped away from her hiding spot and intercepted one of the happy customers who had just purchased a comic.
Excuse me, can I just take a quick look at that? I'll give it right back. I just want to see.
Huh? Sure, I guess.
The pony huffed over the comic a bit nervously.
You knew around here.
You could say that.
Pinky opened the comic and looked through it. She blinked, tilting her head. It looked to be some sort of comic about a couple of stallions who went to high school together. After 10 pages, she closed it and huffed it back over. She pointed a shaky hoof at Fluttershy.
She drew this.
Yeah, Doremi Nico Shy is the best doujinshi artist in Equestria.
He pranced slightly away, headed for another table of merchandise. Pinkie pied one last glance at Fluttershy, who was still drawing, shook her head, and then left the convention center.
Fluttershy's at gem number 3 and covered. She draws really weird comics about teenage stallions, kissing and stuff. Continuing investigation. After I eat a cake to go into a food coma and forget the last hour of my life. Pinkie Pie's observational journal, day 5, entry 4. Suggest Fluttershy returned to Ponyville yesterday. I was forced to stay in Baltimore an extra day. Working a temp job at a diner, turned train fare back to Ponyville. After I blew all my money on stuff I don't even understand and at that convention. Upon returning to Ponyville, I learned that the subject had gone to Cloudsdale for the afternoon. After I borrowed the Twilight's balloon and I'm in pursuit.
Soon as Pinkie Pie arrived in Cloudsdale, she got the scent of a party in the air. Tying several floaty balloons to herself, she navigated the cloudy lanes of Cloudsdale, landing on the solid street surfaces whenever she could. Before long, she happened upon a big festival in the center of town. Several Wonderbolts were wandering around. A vendor was selling pies and treats, and a general air of jubilation filled the sky. She flagged down a passing Pegasus.
So what's going on?
The stallion she'd stopped rolled his eyes.
It's the Cloudsdale Cloud Fair, of course. Where you been? On the ground.
Yes, I meant Earth Pony.
The stallion blinked at her.
Oh,
He tilted his head.
then what are you doing up here?
Shaking his head and snorting, he flew off.
Rude.
She made her way through the festival, taking in everything around her. There were gaming booths, more food stands, music playing and Pegasi racing overhead. She thought she caught a flash of rainbow overhead for a moment, but soon it was gone. As she wandered through the festival, she caught sight of Fluttershy, seated behind a long-clad table alongside several other Pegasi, most of which were large stallions. The table was covered in bowls and jars of liquid rainbow. A crowd gathered around the table, cheering and making bets. An older Pegasus stallion in a tall stovepipe hat hovered over the crowd and held up a megaphone.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 12th annual Rainbow Guzzling Contest. You all know the rules. Contestant, you may begin now.
The ponies at the table started picking up bowls of rainbow and guzzling them. Pinky cringed. Sweat streamed from the brows of the Pegasi as bowl after bowl of rainbow disappeared. After 2 bowls of pure rainbow, 2 large, sturdy stallions flew away screaming. Their faces turned different colors as smoke poured out of their noses. A mare put after her 3rd bowl. The crowd's cheering and laughing increased in volume. One by one, the Pegasi dropped out as more and more rainbow was consumed. Incredibly, Fluttershy was staying strong. She didn't seem affected by the spicy heat of the rainbow at all. Finally, came down to Fluttershy in one large, muscular stallion with a mohawk and intense dark eyes. Stared Fluttershy down as he grabbed a jar of rainbow and popped off the lid. Fluttershy met his gaze, then picked up an even larger jar and daintily went and screwed the lid. The crowd fell into an expectant hush. Pinky watched fascinated. At some unspoken signal, the 2 Pegasi chud. The stallion's eyes bugged out. He screamed as steam blew out of his ears. With an impressively loud, flaming blast, he went shooting off into the sky, trailing rainbow-colored smoke behind him. The crowd roared with cheers and laughter.
The winner for the 3rd year in a row, Fluttershy.
2 mares fluttered over to Fluttershy. She was given a sash, a trophy, and a large jug of milk. As she quickly drank the milk, then waved meekly to the crowd as the sash was lowered over her. And a Pegasus with a megaphone flew over, carrying a glass box containing 6 large, sparkling gems in different hues of the rainbow. Fluttershy graciously accepted it, hoisting it above her head and posing for pictures. All around Pinky, ponies were passing bits back and forth. After several seconds of posing, Fluttershy put the trophy and the jewels in her saddlebag, then flew off into the clouds.
Fluttershy's at jump number 4 uncovered. The rainbow taster. Continuing investigation.
Pinky's balloon started to pop. She yelped and frantically scrambled back to where she docked the Twilight's balloon.
Pinkie Pie's observational journal, day 7, entry 5. So Jet Fluttershy took an afternoon train to Philadelphia. I followed her. This is Meg now, and Fluttershy is walking into what looks like some kind of arena in the sea. You're part of town now.
Hey lady, you gonna stand there all day talking to yourself? Or you gonna buy a ticket?
Grumpy Stallion seated behind a counter with a sign on the front that read tickets 12 bits. Scowl at Pinky.
You're holding up the line.
Whoopsie, sorry.
Pinky pulled on her springy 4-lock mane. 12 coins popped out of her mane, each with a loud, ding sound, and stacked themselves in a neat pile on the counter. The stallion stared at them, slack-jawed. Numbly huffed over a ticket. With a bright smile, Pinky pronked off into the arena and found her seat. The arena was packed, nosy and smelly. The concession vendors roamed the stands, selling nachos, popcorn, sodas, and pickles. Pinky bought a little of everything while she waited to find out what exactly was happening. Murmurs from the crowd were only so helpful. The one and only clue she had was a boxing ring in the center of the arena. The crowd noise muted slightly as a unicorn stallion in a gaudy gold jacket walked into the ring, and his short, dark mane was combed back and held firm with liberal amounts of gel. And he wore sunglasses with cheap gray plastic frames. His horn glowed pale pearl gray. And a microphone ascended from above the ring.
Fillies and gentle colts, this is Big BW. Let's get right to our first match. You know him, you love him, but you wouldn't want to get in the ring with him. Give it up for Grizzly Adams.
A black bear in a pinstripe suit, with an eye waxed mustache, was wrangled into the ring.
And our challenger from Ponyville, the Hulking Horse, the Royal Raider himself, Bolt Biceps.
Bolt Biceps roared as he vaulted into the ring, shaking it upon landing. He flexed his massive muscles and bellowed a challenge to the bear, and roared at him in reply. Pinky watched in mild confusion and a degree of alarm as Bolt Biceps wrestled the black bear. After only a minute and a half of extreme pony on bear violence, Bolt Biceps ran screaming like a little filly. He eyed and steered and threw popcorn boxes and soda cups at him as he fled the arena. For the next hour, various ponies from all walks of life, some wearing flamboyant costumes and introduced with colorful stage names, jumped into the ring, facing off against a variety of bears, almost all of which were in costume. The bears always won, and with each passing mailing, Pinky grew more and more uncomfortable amid the frenzied crowd.
This isn't fun.
The lighting shifted dramatically, and the crowd fell silent. The announcer pony returned to the ring.
And now, our main event. In this corner, we have the most infamous bloodthirsty monster in the history of extreme bear wrestling. The only bear in ABW who has ever killed a pony. I give you, by May being.
It stomped the floor, shaking the arena. As a massive cage was lowered into the ring, it opened. And a huge red panda with enormous, bushy white eyebrows and a long, silky white beard stomped out, gnawing on a massive bamboo bowl. Its claws were long and lethal looking, and there was a cold, deadly intensity to its size.
And in this corner, the reigning champion of ABW.
Pink spotlights drained on the ramp leading up to the ring, forming a big butterfly shape.
The Flying Marvel, the pony of mass destruction, the Pegasus powerhouse.
A costume mare strode up the ramp, flanked by stallions in tuxedos. Blue green eyes blazed confidently from behind the sky blue butterfly mask she wore. Her mane and tail were tightly braided and wrapped in white linen sheaths.
Please welcome Pebble Blue.
Pinky watched in shock as the tiny little mare darted around the ring, effortlessly dodging every charge and swipe from the lethal panda. Horror shock turned to wide-eyed, jaw-dropping as Papillon Blue administered a flying dropkick. A suplex, a pile driver, and a submission hold to a bear 5 times her size. After 3 of the most bizarre minutes of intense pony-on-bear violence Pinkie Pie had ever witnessed, the bell clanged repeatedly. Papillon Blue stood proudly atop a thoroughly defeated pony mailing. His eyes were crossed and whose tongue lolled out comically.
The winner and still champion, Pebble Blue.
The crowd cheered as Papillon Blue accepted a large gold belt and posed with it for a minute as camera flashes went off around the arena. She then slung the belt over her back and strode out of the arena. Pinky's entire body started to shudder violently. Acting on a hunch, she slipped out of the crowd and followed Papillon Blue at a discreet distance. In the bowels of the arena, Papillon Blue walked into an office whose door said manager, closing the door behind her. Pinky pulled a cup out of her mane and leaned against the door, using it to listen.
Good show out there tonight, kid.
You will make sure that poor bear isn't hurt badly, right?
Of course. We've got the finest bets on call. You realize Lingsvit bills are coming out of your winnings, of course.
Of course.
And sedated, medication, letter fees, belt fees.
Yes, I know.
Just making sure. All right, adding it all up, your take 740 bits. See you in 2 weeks.
Oh, better make it 4. I've been taking too many out-of-town trips lately, and this will hold me for a while.
Suit yourself, kid.
Suddenly, Pinky's left ear flopped, followed by her right eye fluttering, then her left knee twitching. She was too shell-shocked to process this, and therefore ended up getting smashed against the wall by the opening door as Papillon Blue, or rather, Fluttershy left with her jingling bag of bits.
Fluttershy's at jump number 5, uncovered professional bear wrestler. This concludes my observation. I don't think my pinky brain can take much more of this.
Disheveled Pinky trotted into the library in Twilight's castle. Twilight blinked.
So, hey Pinky, haven't seen you in a while.
She tilted her head.
Are you Okay.
Wow, Pinky. You look like crap.
Rainbow Dash, who was reading comics with Spike, observed.
I see things.
Pinky flunked to the floor.
Did you ever find out what Fluttershy's objects are?
Pinky glared at her.
Not even.
She promptly fell asleep. Pinkie Pie returned to Sugar Cube Corner just before dawn the following morning. The lights came on upstairs. Mr. and Mrs. Cake descended into the shop. Neither of them looked very happy.
Pinkie Pie, we need to talk. You've kinda blown off your job for the past week.